Joining me, Jack Burkman, Republican strategist and K Street lobbyist, coming soon to Newsmax TV. Also, Jamal Simmons, Democratic strategist and principal at the Raven Group. Catch him every Saturday at 7 a.m. on Aspire TV. President Obama spent the week promoting what he calls common sense gun reform. He issued a package of executive orders, published an op-ed in the New York Times, and held a live town hall on CNN.
There's a reason why the NRA is not here. They're just down the street. And since this is the main reason they exist, you'd think that they'd be prepared to have a debate with the president.
They haven't been to the White House in 3 years.
We've invited them. We've invited them.
So right now, tonight, you're saying you would be welcome to meet with them?
We have invited them repeatedly.
The NRA has a lot of clout on the campaign trail. Obama is trying to make this a campaign issue. Is that a winning strategy, Jack?
I think it's a disaster. I think it shows how much enmity there is between Obama and the Clintons. I mean, this shows you how much he actually hates Hillary and Bill Clinton. I thought the 08 cleavages, the 08 wounds had healed. They haven't healed, Morris. I mean, Obama knows full well that this will hurt him. This will hurt Hillary Clinton in Ohio, in Pennsylvania, in Colorado, in New Mexico, out in your home states, maybe even in California. It's a political disaster.
That's interesting. So you're not really focused on Obama's legacy or him trying to do the best thing in the next 12 months, but actually this is hurting the Democratic Party.
Well, he knows the cost of this. In other words, he understands. Sure, he's worried about his legacy, and he doesn't care. He wants to promote his legacy at the expense of Hillary Clinton. He's sure he understands that. But usually, a sitting president will not do anything to injure the party's nominee. But in this case, he's doing about as much to injure her as he can.
Now, most Americans support President Obama's executive actions on gun control. A new CNN ORC poll puts that support at 67%, but the same survey finds most people don't think the president's actions will reduce gun-related deaths in the U.S. Jamal, is this an effort in futility?
It's not an effort in futility. In fact, I don't know what Jack is talking about in terms of enmity between the Clintons and Obamas. They've had a lot of time together to spend over the last 7.5 years. But what's really going on here is that Americans are dying. This is a really big deal. This is not just about politics. This is about the President of the United States witnessing people getting hurt every day in this gun crisis, and trying to find a way to address it in the face of an intransigent Republican Congress that won't figure out a way to do some common sense things. One common sense thing, why don't we keep people who are on the terrorist watch list away from being able to buy guns? It seems like a very simple thing.
It makes sense. Sounds right.
Why doesn't the Democratic Party focus on the real threat that radical Islam is posing internally in the United States in terms of fostering terrorism? I mean, you know, the first thing, and I'm always surprised that liberals don't understand this. It's almost like what Lenin said, liberals become kind of useful idiots. They're the unwitting dupes in all this. Don't they understand? Does the left not understand? People like Obama and Nancy Pelosi, do they just not understand that the first thing any dictator does when he comes to power is collect up the guns? That was true of Stalin and Hitler and people like Idi Amin. They all do it.
So keeping guns out of the hands of people on the terrorist watch list is going to enable dictators?
No, but it's not just those people. The broader problem is where does
Are you against keeping guns out of the hands of terrorists? And is that what you're against?
Sure I am. But I'll tell you this.
You're against that or you're for it?
Terrorists shouldn't have guns. I agree.
All right,
so
we have common ground now that we can come up with a rule that will keep people on the terrorist watch list.
No, we don't, and here's why. Where does this idea come from that the central government is the only body that should have guns? The U.S. government can manufacture all the guns at once. Why is that? That's not what the framers wanted.
It's always the old slippery slope of if we start here, we're going to end up there. If we start doing this about guns, we're going to take them away from everybody. We hear it all the time. Meanwhile, President Obama's signature domestic achievement is still under attack. The House and Senate passed a bill designed to repeal Obamacare. It met a swift veto.
This is the first time. This is the first time in 5 years we will finally put a bill on the president's desk that defunds Obamacare.
Now, Jack, House Speaker Paul Ryan promised to make the GOP a party of new ideas, but they've been trying unsuccessfully to make this happen since 2010. Isn't it time to move on?
No, I think we have to fight. I think we'll get a Republican president. Hopefully we'll have a Republican president in 2017, and then we can repeal Obamacare. I see no basis for it. You know, Morris, with the insurance exchanges, enough of these companies may pull out, and we've already seen the first one pull out. This thing may implode. Jamal knows this. He knows more about this than I do. This thing may implode under its own weight. Obamacare, the good news is, even without this legislation and even without a Republican president in 2017, Obamacare may be gone simply because of market forces.
Well, now, Jamal, there's new evidence that the health care law is not meeting its primary objective. The Gallup Healthways Well-Being Index finds progress at reducing the number of uninsured Americans stalled last year. That really feeds into the argument that Obamacare is not working. Are we missing something here, Jamal?
Yeah, I think we are missing something. I think just this week we found out that 11.3 million Americans have now signed up for the president's health care package, Obamacare. And I think that is especially a good thing. And let's not remember, this is not a government program. People like to say that. This is private health insurance with the government facilitating through a market mechanism, individual Americans able to get private health insurance.
That's true.
The health insurers are especially happy about this.
That's true, Jamal, but those
money.
insurance exchanges are awfully like a government program. They're not a government program, but they're awfully close to being a government program.
Yeah, and we're all awfully close to being Martians. I mean, it's just not really true.
But Jamal, it's more expensive now. Fewer companies are hiring more and more people, so they don't have to put these people on those health exchanges. I mean, there's a lot of downside to it as well.
So look at the data. The data actually shows that the cost curve is what the president said. The cost curve is bending down, right? Like, so we were skyrocketing in terms of year-over-year growth and what healthcare was costing us. That's now bending down. Now, for individual people, some individual people, costs have gone up. That's a problem that the bill's going to have to address.
You know how ridiculous
and Republicans are going to have to work with the president in order to find a way to fix that.
There are some people that can only buy health insurance during a certain open season 2 or 3 months of the year, all because of federal regulation and federal intervention. It was never that way before. That should never be the American system. You know, Morris, when you look to Canada and when you look north, see all the problems the Canadians have. You know, the Canadians love to brag, the British love to brag about their National Health Service. The first thing when any one of their family members has a problem, the first thing they want to do is get them to a Boston hospital.
All right, let's switch gears from the White House to the campaign trail. Teflon Don keeps generating headlines. Donald Trump held a rally in Burlington, Vermont, home of Democratic presidential candidate Bernie Sanders.
Get him out. Get him out. Get him out. Get him out.
He knew that was going to happen. That was not an isolated incident either. The entire rally was a battle between Trump and various protesters. Does this kind of attention help or hurt his campaign? Jack, you're the Republican strategist.
Oh, I think it helps him. It's consistent with his image. It gives him an opportunity to act consistent with his image. He's a tough guy. He doesn't engage them and say, come up to the stand and let's debate. That might be what Hillary Clinton or Marco Rubio do. Trump throws them out. He tosses them out. I think it's consistent with his image. I largely believe that the Republican race is over, Morris. You know my view on this. I don't see anything changing in the next 3 weeks. I think the real race is going to be on the Democratic side. You can test me as a prognosticator.
Jamal, as the Democrat in the room, do you think that was a wise move for Trump? I mean, it kind of, as Jack said, it kind of helped.
There will be very few things here, Morris, that Jack and I agree on. And I think this is probably one of them, which is I think this does play into Trump's whole positioning as the strong man in the race. He's much like, you know, he's an applause junkie. He likes to get the applause. He loves it when people come out and they celebrate him. But he also, when he gets faced with a confrontation, he goes back pretty hard. A friend of mine called him this week the blonde Don King. Like, you never know. You never know what he's going to say, and he'll say anything at any moment. He's the greatest hype man in America
and
right now.
And it reminds me of All-Star
scene.
Wrestling. All the booing there. I mean, it's when does the wrestling match begin?
Yeah,
Meanwhile, Trump put his chief rival for the Republican nomination on the defensive, raising questions about his birth in Canada.
The Constitution and laws of the United States are straightforward. The very first Congress defined the child of a U.S. citizen born abroad as a natural-born citizen. And by the way, many of those members of the first Congress were framers at the Constitutional Convention. At the end of the day, this is a non-issue.
White House Press Secretary Josh Earnest called the debate ironic because the people going after President Obama's birth certificate in 2011 are going after one of their own. You enjoying this, Jamal?
I am enjoying this beyond measure, Morris. Listen, the Republicans are the ones who let this tiger out of the cage, and now it's coming back to bite one of their own. I think Ted Cruz, it was actually born in another country and was born with a parent who was not, one of his parents was not American. He is probably an American. It's probably okay. He's probably able to get it. But Donald Trump and the others are loving the fact that they get to have this
It is somewhat interesting that Cruz waited until 2014 on the eve of his announcement, 6 months before he announced for president, to renounce that citizenship. I mean, Trump makes a good point in saying that. I think, though, in a lot of ways, this is favorable to Cruz in that it highlights the point that we have a two-man race. There's only two left. Trump has begun attacking Cruz because he's all that's left. I think all the rest are gone.
All right,
Jack, I'm sorry that you're, debasing Jeb Bush and not letting Jeb Bush have his moment.
Who? I remember him.
Who do you mean? Who?
On the left, former President Bill Clinton made his first appearances on the campaign trail. He stumped for Hillary in Iowa, but allegations of sexual impropriety reemerged.
Juanita Broderick, who has long claimed that Bill Clinton attacked her in 1978 when she was working on his gubernatorial campaign. She's now a Trump supporter, and she tweeted, "I was 35 years old when Bill Clinton, Arkansas Attorney General, raped me and Hillary tried to silence me. I am now 73. It never goes away." There was no physical evidence and no charges were ever filed.
All right, Jack, is Bill Clinton an asset or a liability?
No, sadly, he's an asset, Morris. I think he might be her greatest asset. I think the fact that he's coming out now shows you that the Democrats really believe they have a race. I think Hillary Clinton is quietly waking up to the reality that she has a real race with Bernie Sanders.
Jamal, you think it's good to bring Bill out so soon?
Bill Clinton is always an asset on any campaign just because he's such a strong communicator, and most Democrats really are very much in favor of him.
Well, we'll leave it at that and see where it goes, see where we are next week. Always an interesting panel. Jamal Simmons, Democratic strategist, Jack Burkman, Republican strategist, the best politicos on TV. Thanks to you both.
Thank you, Morris. Thank you, Jamal.